families. Welcome back once again. I hope you are well. I hope your day is good. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If this is your first time, my name is Mamri and you are very welcome. This news you're about to watch is history in Burkina Faso. This particular month, a lot of things has happened years ago and they are sharing it with us. And it's an opportunity or an advantage for those of us who were not following them or do not understand French now to learn what has happened before, what democracy has done to Burkina Faso before. Families, please watch and listen up to the end. This video is 2014 October, what went down, and they are visiting everything once again. I'll be back.
The last quarter of 2014, with the holidays leading to the uprising of October 30th and 31st, let us recall the crystallization of Burkina Faso's socio-political sphere due to the attempt to amend Article 37 of the Constitution. Christine Koulibaly.
It's well known 2014 was a pivotal year for Burkina Faso, a year full of dangers. Some political observers had predicted this. With 1 year left before President Blaise Compaore's term ended, and in the face of his increasingly open ambitions to seek another term, the political scene was heating up, and so was the social front. From the very first days of the year, the political landscape was being reshuffled. The political scene is being reshaped with the arrival of new parties, such as the MPP and the Republican Front. The game is wide open and it seems anything goes. On January 18th, at the call of the opposition, a national day of protest is organized.
We didn't come out to break things, we came out to say no.
Like a tidal wave, Burkinabés poured into the streets of the capital in large numbers to express their disapproval of plans to establish a Senate and the amendment of Article 37 through a referendum. The protest spread to other cities across the country. The government, weakened by resignations, is nervous, but wants to show the Burkinabés its resilience and ability to mobilize. In response, the Republican Front promises a massive rally. The time for double-sided arguments has come. April 12, 2014, OBE Stadium in Bogo-Dioulasso. Thousands of people are packed inside and outside. The Republican Front has just succeeded in its mobilization challenge with the actual presence of the First Lady, Chantal Copaore. The tone was meant to be moderate, and the message calls for organizing a referendum to decide on the issues of the Senate and the amendment of Article 37. The political opposition will once again step up, issuing a warning against any attempt to amend the fundamental law. The situation is becoming increasingly tense with a climate of strong popular protest. 2 dates are on the agenda. First, May 31st in Ouagadougou. The legendary August 4th Stadium has been chosen for the demonstration. Amid performances and fiery speeches, Ama Arba Diallo, in a highly symbolic gesture, expels the political leader's supporters by giving him a red card. At the same time, in the city of Sia, a human tide was in the streets at the call of the anti-referendum collective. The word has been passed for June 14th, the other date of the Burkinabe political opposition. Start Sangoulé La Misana by Bogo-Dioulasso. For some, it's half full, for others half empty, but the show was put on by Zéphirin Diabre and his comrades. A collective red card was given to Blaise Compaoré. The response from the presidential majority will not be long in coming. A rally is being organized on June 21st at the August 4th Stadium. The Tukjili is back, proclaimed the pro-referendum supporters, before in turn giving a green card to Blaise Compaoré. After this show of strength on both sides, the opposition and the majority move into secondary cities to promote their respective political agendas. Clearly, it's very dichotomous. In 2014, Blaise Compaoré takes part in the United States-Africa Summit. At this summit, American President Barack Obama declared, and I quote, "Africa needs strong institutions, not strong men." When asked by foreign journalists to comment on this statement, Blaise Compaoré replied that there can be no strong institutions without a strong man. A statement that resonates in Burkina Faso and among the opposition as yet another provocation. She announced a March rally through the press. August 23rd, a human tide once again flooded the arteries of the capital, Ouagadougou. Positions are becoming increasingly entrenched and the conditions for a social explosion are increasingly ruined. Blaise Compaoré is aware of this. He therefore tries to defuse the situation through dialogue. September 23rd, President Compaoré receives one after the other, the majority and the opposition. For this dialogue, and after preliminary negotiations, a consensus is reached on an agenda in 5 points. However, the opposition remains firm on the issue of Article 37.
We are firmly opposed to any modification or revision of the Constitution that would remove the fundamental right to term limits.
Unsurprisingly, this dialogue proves fruitless. The socio-political situation becomes more tense, culminating in October 2014. The situation is explosive, and it becomes even more so with the decisions made by the Extraordinary Council of Ministers on October 21st. On those days, the Burkinabe executive decides to force things through, approving a draft law on the referendum and its submission to the National Assembly, with the aim of calling the referendum on October 30th. The very next day, the opposition and civil society organizations respond to what they call constitutional coups. A civil disobedience movement is launched starting October 28th. As soon as it is announced, civil society leaders, notably those from Balai Citoyen, the Anti-Referendum Collective, CR, and the Citizen Resistance Front, are on the ground preparing for the week of disobedience. On Monday, October 27th, at the call of the Women's Collective for the Defense of the Constitution, hundreds of women armed with brooms and spatulas set the tone for the week of civil disobedience. Free, 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 free! October 28th, the mobilization in Bobo-Dioulasso, Ouagadougou, and several other cities is historic. On this working day, many public and private services are closed. Tensions are rising, and protesters break through security barriers in their drive to reach the National Assembly.
We're going to block the assembly. We're going to sleep there tonight.
Security responds with tear gas canisters. Injuries have been reported. October 29th, the trade unions and the Coalition Against the High Cost of Living, along with other civil society organizations, take over. The capital is paralyzed. Deaf to dissenting voices, the majority develops strategies to force the bill through. By confining the deputies loyal to their cause at the Azalai Hotel for the vote, it would take more or less to save the regime.
And then, on that day, October 30th, the protests against the amendment of Article 37 of the Constitution intensified on October 30th, 2014. The date scheduled in the chamber for the vote on the bill. As you may recall, the day's plenary session was interrupted by protesters who vandalized and set fire to the chamber. We learn more in this news recap with Amandine Lalsaga.
From the early morning of October 30th, 2014, clashes broke out between protesters and security forces, who first tried to contain the crowd with tear gas and water cannons. We are just a short distance from the National Assembly. The time for the plenary session to amend the Constitution, originally set for 4 p.m., is moved up to 10 a.m. The deputies, who had been kept at the Nipanos Hotel the night before, head to the chamber to force their way through. By voting on the amendment to Article 37 of the Constitution and the creation of a Senate, The political opposition and leaders of civil society organizations respond by calling on the population to march on the National Assembly. By midday, tensions rise another notch. The protests intensify and converge on the National Assembly against Vanzimari. Despite tear gas, baton charges, and warning shots in some areas, the crowd keeps advancing. The security forces, overwhelmed by the size of the crowd, are forced to fall back, revealing weaknesses in the security setup. The protesters manage to break through the final barriers set up around the United Nations roundabout. The last barriers fall, and the protesters flood into the courtyard of the parliamentary chamber. It's chaos. The deputies and the assembly staff are evacuated. The National Assembly, stormed by the crowd, is ransacked and set on fire. In the aftermath, the national television station faces the wrath of the protesters. The newsroom, studios, some technical equipment, and even the vehicle are looted. The protesters did not leave and are heading to Kosiam to dislodge them. Blaise Copaore. On the road to the presidential palace, they were stopped and violently repressed by the Presidential Security Regiment, RSP, resulting in deaths and injuries. Yalagado Wedrago Hospital is calling on doctors and nurses to return to the hospital to care for the many wounded being brought in. The red line has just been crossed. At the headquarters of the opposition leader, discussions are ongoing, but the tone is changing. Blaise Compaore must now go. The headquarters of the CDP, the ruling party, as well as the homes of some government dignitaries, are being set on fire across the country. The Chief of Staff speaks out and announces measures. These include the withdrawal of the bill and the imposition of a curfew. In the evening, Blaise Compaore announces the dissolution of the government, declares a state of emergency, and withdraws the bill amending the constitution. But it's too late. The protesters remain furious, and the flames of the revolution will sweep across the country on October 31st to demand his resignation.
Thank you so much for listening and watching. Wow. Strangely, I just deleted a video 2 days ago that I made about the ex-president. I didn't know he was late. Yes, call me stupid. I didn't know. YouTube recommended that video for me 3 years ago when he was in Ivory Coast. So when I said Ivory Coast, I said, no, let me work on the video. I work on it, finish everything, 10 minutes video. And then I have a feeling, do a bit of research on this man before you share the video. He is dead. I said, well, no, I wasted my time for nothing. The president is dead. May his soul rest in peace. Yes. So I deleted it. But I can trace it back. I mean, I have the copy there. So maybe I'll put a bit at the end of this video for you to listen when he came back to beg the citizens to forgive him and also beg our late Captain Thomas Sankara's families to forgive him. Yes, I'll add it to this one. So if you don't know like me, you will also know. But I laugh at myself like, why don't you know? It's not my fault. I don't know what is going on in those countries, those days. I'm now learning. Families, this is the democracy that was going on at that time. So if you are like me and you have learned something from this video, please kindly let me know under the comment section. Share it as well. So if there's anyone that is following the AES and they also don't know this history, 2014, October 31st, which is today, how many years ago? All these things went on in Burkina Faso. Thank you, my families. Credit to RTV News and Faso 7. I will leave you here. God bless you all for everything you are doing to support this channel. My returning families, my new ones, my VIPs, my kings and queens, those who have been passing by, clicking on the video and not subscribing. What are you waiting for? What do you want me to do? Do you want me to dance for you before you subscribe? Or am I annoying you? Anyway, I will leave you here. God bless you all. I just want to laugh even though I'm in pain. I will see you soon. I will see you soon. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Message from His Excellency, Mr. Blaise Copaore, former president. My dear compatriots, citizens of Burkina Faso, in response to the invitation of His Excellency Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba, President of Faso, for a consultation on the very difficult and delicate situation our country is experiencing, my presence among you is more than a joy. It is an immense relief. And for that, I would first like to express my deep gratitude to the new transitional authorities of our country. My thanks also go to all those who have worked in silence, individually or collectively, to make this day possible. Allow me also to take this opportunity to especially thank, from Ouagadougou, His Excellency Mr. Alassane Dramane Ouattara, President of the Sister Republic of Côte d'Ivoire, and his government, for all the arrangements made to facilitate my trip to Ouagadougou. President of Faso and dear compatriots, our country, Burkina Faso, has for several years been experiencing one of the most serious crises in its history, one that threatens its very existence. This crisis, marked by terrorist attacks of rare violence and intercommunal conflicts, has caused thousands of deaths and the massive displacement of our compatriots, to whom I once again express my deepest compassion and solidarity in these trying times. As a result, millions of destitute women, men and children have been forced to become displaced within their own country, shaking the very foundations of our beloved homeland. In the face of this dramatic and critical situation our beloved homeland is experiencing, we truly have no choice but to set aside our differences in order to save our shared heritage of Burkina Faso. This nation, bequeathed to us by our ancestors, deserves far better than the tragic fate that terrorists wish to impose upon it. That is why I call upon all our compatriots, the sons and daughters of our country, both within and outside our borders, to come together in a sacred union to show tolerance, restraint, but above all, forgiveness, so that the higher interest of our nation may prevail. I hope that the blood of all our martyrs, both civilian and military, who have fallen since the beginning of this grave crisis, will continue to serve as the foundation of our fraternal love, our attachment to the homeland, and our solidarity with one another. The seriousness of this moment calls upon us today to work together to find solutions in order to save our nation in peril. My dear compatriots, for my part, I ask the people of Burkina Faso for forgiveness for all the acts I may have committed during my time in office, and especially to the family of my brother and friend, Thomas Isidore Noel Sankara. I fully accept and deeply regret all the suffering and tragedies experienced by all the victims during my terms as head of the country, and I ask their families to grant me their forgiveness. I hope that from now on we can move forward together to rebuild our shared destiny on the land of our ancestors. Together, in a spirit of patriotism, let us join hands to put an end once and for all to our quarrels and resentments. It is important today to work towards restoring territorial integrity, rebuilding and promoting an environment that fosters sustainable development for all. This is the only way that will allow us to put an end to our misunderstandings and intercommunal conflicts, so that we can effectively fight against the terrorism that has so deeply wounded our country and shaken its foundations. We can do it, and we owe it to our beloved country in a surge of patriotism. May God bless Burkina Faso. Signed, His Excellency Blaise Copaore, former President. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, here is the full message from His Excellency Blaise Copaore, former President of Burkina Faso. A message that was delivered by an emissary from the President of the Republic, Sister Nation Côte d'Ivoire, Ali Coulibaly, Special Advisor to the President, His Excellency Alassane Dramane.